In the era of subclassing in The Elder Scrolls Online, your choice in base class isn't nearly as important as it used to be. However, with the few restrictions that subclassing does place on its players, picking a base class can still be an important decision. So, whether you're interested in creating a healer or you just want to know how viable your main healer is, I'm going to give you guys my personal healer tier list for every base class in ESO. My name's Doc, and let's get into it. So, one quick disclaimer before we begin. These are just my own opinions based on my experience and understanding of the current meta. Metas change, some things are situational, and the way I do things may be a little different from the way you do things, and that's okay. Truthfully, now more than ever, the difference between the best base class versus the worst isn't really a huge difference, and you can be a fantastic healer on any class. I'll be ranking these from A to Z, with S tier being the best and D tier being the worst. And while I do place more focus on PvE, if there are notable exceptions for PvP healing, I'll do my best to mention those. Let's start by talking about the Arcanist. Starting off our list, you guys are in the B tier spot. Herald of the Tome can be a nice little skill line for hybrid DPS builds, and Soldier of Apocrypha can be pretty decent for PvP, but Curative Runiforms is the main skill line we'll interact with as healers, and it's all around pretty good. Remedy Cascade is a great skill for healing Frost Tombs, and Chakram of Destiny is a really strong shield skill. Plus, the passives will grant us a ton of extra healing, sustain, and shielding, making this a great skill line for barrier spam builds or shield stacking. The problem, and why it isn't ranked higher, is just that barrier spam and shield stacking just isn't really necessary in a lot of content, and this skill line lost a lot of its group utility when Xena's Empowering Disc had the target cap reduced. On top of that, the Arcanist class sets aren't bad, but not great, and the class mastery script of creating Crux is nice, but not really necessary for healers when we have 3 skills in the curative skill line that already generate Crux. Overall, the Arcanist is still a really good base class for healers, and even better if you also enjoy playing DPS. However, Curative Runiforms just isn't quite as universally good as some of the other skill lines that we'll talk about on this list. Up next, we have the Dragonknights, and I'm sorry I've got to put y'all in the D tier spot. I know, I'm sorry, but not really much has changed for Dragonknight healers. All 3 skill lines for this class are geared much more for tanks than healers, and while there are a couple heals found within Earthen Heart and Ardent Flame, it's just not enough to really make any of those skill lines valuable enough to justify having a healer use them rather than a tank. I was really hoping that Earthen Heart could be a pretty good skill line in the age of subclassing since it can generate a little bit of ultimate, but honestly, it's just so much better in the hands of a tank that, yeah, it is how it is. The Dragonknight mastery scripts in class sets actually aren't bad, but again, still just not good enough to really move the needle for healers. Up next, we have the Necromancer, and I will be putting you guys in the S tier. That's right, Necromains, celebrate, because you guys make fantastic healers. I would actually be so bold as to say that the Necromancer is the only base class left in the game that would be good as a pure class healer. Bone Tyrant gives us the Necrotic Potency skill, which gives us some of the highest ultimate generation in the entire game. Living Death is an all-around pretty good healer skill line, and it gives us the Corpse Consumption passive, which will give us even more ultimate. Finally, we've got Gravelord, which offers a ton of great debuffs, and the Glacial Colossus ultimate that offers us AoE major vulnerability. While I do still see a lot of tanks run Colo rather than healers, there's honestly nothing wrong with having 2 Colos in the group. This means that all 3 skill lines from Necromancers are useful to healers in some way. And on top of that, it has arguably the best class mastery script, which will allow us to create a corpse whenever there aren't any around. The class sets for Necro aren't really great for healers, but I think everything else I've talked about so far definitely justifies its spot. And next up we have the Nightblades. I'm sure it will come to absolutely no one's surprise that Nightblades are an easy S tier base class. While Assassination doesn't really do much for healers, still a great DPS skill line, the Shadow skill line can actually be a pretty good defensive healer line for PvP. Of course, though, the biggest reason that Nightblades are where they are is because of the Siphoning skill line. This is the most universally used skill line in the game for healers, either being a requirement or a very strong flex spot on nearly every single healer build. Healthy Offering, one of the strongest single target burst heals in the game, Siphoning Attacks offers excellent resource sustain, and Soul Siphon is one of the best defensive ultimates in the game. On top of that, the passives offer insane amounts of ultimate generation, and while there are some changes happening to ultimate generation in the PTS cycle currently, as of the time of making this video, siphoning is here to stay, at least, again, as of the time of writing the script. If something changes, I'll make sure to come back and update this video. The Nightblade class sets and mastery script aren't really that great for healers, to be honest, but even then, despite everything, there is no denying how strong the siphoning skill line is. And up next we have Sorcerers, and I'll be dropping you guys in the C tier. Stormcalling can be a pretty decent hybrid DPS line if you enjoy heavy attack builds. Our main focus though will be on Dark Magic and more so Daedric Summoning. From the Dark Magic skill line, Vibrant Shroud is a decent little burst heal, but the buffs that it gives, Minor Vitality, and the debuff that it gives, Major Maim, are usually already brought from other sources in the group. Daedric Summoning does bring some pretty decent heals and utility to the table. Twilight Matriarch is a great burst heal, but does require you to double bar it so you don't lose your pet. Summon Charged Atronach, though, is actually a really strong ultimate to have, and you've also got the passive that reduces the cost of ultimate abilities. Both of these things are great for ultimate spam builds. The problem arises when you are essentially locked into that ultimate spam build because you'll usually be running Daedric Summoning on a Sorcerer. Dark Magic it's not really worth it. We had a similar problem with the Arcanist, but Dark Magic and Daedric Summoning just really aren't nearly as versatile for healers as Curative Runeforms is. The class sets and mastery for Sorcerers aren't bad, but aren't quite good enough to justify a higher placement for this class, in my opinion. Up next, we've got the Templar, my favorite class, and I'm happy to say that we'll be going in the A tier. So, Aedric Spear and Dawn's Wrath both have some niche uses in certain builds and certain content, especially if you're looking to be a hybrid DPS healer, but those aren't really our focus here. Restoring Light is the skill line that we care about here, and it is in a much better place than it was prior to Update 46. Extended Ritual is arguably the best AoE heal in the game, especially if you're running content where debuffs need to be cleansed. Either morph of the Rune of Focus can be a lifesaver in PvP, and Radiant Aura is the easiest 100% uptime on sustain buffs in the game. Plus, those passives can be extremely useful on a wide variety of healing builds. And that is the main reason that Templars are so high on the list now. Restoring Light is a true jack-of-all-trades healer skill line. While it may not be the first choice on any healer build, it is a fantastic flex line on every healer build. While neither of the class sets in the game are good for healers at the moment, I actually think the class mastery script is a little overlooked, and I think it could be pretty decent. And finally, we've got the Wardens. I'll be putting this class in the A tier. Now, you may be scratching your head right now, wondering why not S tier? Green Balance is pretty much required on at least one healer in everything, and Winter's Embrace is a great defensive line for both PvE and PvP. Well, the only thing keeping it out of S tier is that Green Balance is only desired on one healer. Meaning if your other healer in the trial is also a Warden, you are both going to be running Green Balance since Winter's Embrace is more commonly run on tanks these days. Not that double stacking Green Balance is a bad choice by any means, it's a great skill line. You've got an insanely strong AoE heal and some really solid passives for both healing and resource sustain. It's just that the main reason that Green Balance is so desired is for the minor toughness buff, and one healer with Green Balance can provide that buff to the entire team. Again though, still an A tier pick, it's just that you do run a chance of running into another Warden who's already going to be running green balance if you happen to, join a random trial group or something like that. Also, the class sets and mastery scripts for Wardens are just really not that good. And there we have it. That was our healer base class tier list. Just a friendly reminder that at the end of the day, these are just my opinions. If you're playing a class that I ranked low, or you disagree with me, and whatever you're doing works for you, then don't let me dissuade you from enjoying that class or saying that a certain class belongs in a certain tier. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Let me know what you guys think of the placements and if there's anything you would change about them. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the link tree in the description so you don't miss my other tier lists that I have coming out as well, and join my Discord server. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my Patreon supporters Dylan Stewart and Sharni Lee, as well as my YouTube members King Gingy, Durgy, Insert Username, Eric from Ohio, and Timeburn. Thank you guys for continuing to support me, and I sincerely appreciate it. I think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, stay safe out there, and I will catch y'all in the next one.